You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and co-host Keelan Harvey on Alternative Talk AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage experts Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell.
And co-host Keelan Harvey.
You're a local mortgage experts right here at 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, July 28th show. It's a great day to talk money. That's what the show's about, what it's all about, how to make money and have a better quality of life for you and your family. If you're hearing our show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but we're here to answer any questions or connect you with the guests that we have on the show today. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150, or you can go online at themoneyhour.com. And our next guest in studio, Vanessa Betancourt with Century21 WP Associates, the truth about being a first-time home buyer. Vanessa, first time in studio, thanks for visiting us.
Thank you for having me.
And a little bit about Vanessa. Vanessa is with Century21 WP and Associates and a Seattle native. She's been with WP and Associates for 3 years, sharing her knowledge and believing that we are more than just real estate agents. We have the ability to educate and to help people achieve homeownership. She firmly believes that you have to give to receive. She partners with World Vision in Colombia to provide school supplies for kids in high poverty areas and involved locally with Seattle Public Schools, offering homebuyer education classes to parents and staff. Her favorite part about real estate is the relationship that is made that lasts long after the transaction is closed. Her commitment to providing excellent customer service is what sets her apart from the rest.
Vanessa, what is the most common myth that you hear from people before they start this buying a home process?
I hear a lot of things ranging from you need to have a large down payment. The one that I recently heard was that you need to get into debt to fix your credit or to raise your credit.
Weird.
Yes. I had a situation not too long ago where a friend called me and said they had spoken to somebody else a while ago that suggested because they did not have strong enough credit, they go and buy a car. So they had some money saved up and they used it to buy a car.
Wow,
and when
crazy.
she told me that, I couldn't believe it. I was like, who told you that? And why didn't you come to me first?
Oh, no.
So it was very frustrating when people hear all these myths, and instead of educating themselves and finding out the truth, they just kind of go with the first opinion that they get. But we're working with her, and soon we should be able to get her in a home. I also hear a lot that people that they want to change jobs before they apply for a loan, which is always a red flag. It's always good, you have to meet with your lender first, and if there is a job change in the future, please let them know. I always tell my buyers, don't do anything that can change your financial situation when you're in the pre-approval process. I know that if you are getting a better job with an offer letter, it can be done, but always make sure you speak to your lender before you make any drastic changes to your financial situation.
Great advice, Vanessa, because there's a lot of people that think that they're doing the right thing, but until you talk with an expert, whether it's an expert on the real estate side when it comes to real estate or the expert on the mortgage side when it comes to mortgage. And I do want to make a comment on what you said about credit, because the best way is to get added to an authorized user to someone's established account. I mean, there's easy ways around that. So that's sad, but I'm glad that you were able to help them and get them into a better situation. So, Vanessa, how is it different working with first-time homebuyers versus people that have gone through the process before?
Working with first-time homebuyers, I feel that the education portion of the process is huge. I want to make sure that my buyer understands the entire process. With the internet and cell phones, just make it so easy to text and to do electronic signature. I feel that it's important for your agent to meet with you the very first time, at least, to go over the purchase and sale line by line and make sure that they understand completely exactly what they are signing. I feel lucky also that I work with sellers, so I know the other side, and so I try to build a relationship with the listing agent so that I can go back to my buyers and say, look, I spoke to the agent, this is what's going on, this is what the seller wants, and we can put our best foot forward and avoid the frustration of getting beat out just by communicating with the listing agent.
Makes a lot of sense. So speaking of first-time home buyers, I'm looking in, let's say we're deeper in the process. I found a house I like and I want to put in an offer. So tell us a little bit about your thoughts on waiving inspection and asking over the listing price for first-time home buyers.
The market in the past has made people do some crazy things. One of them including waiving inspection, crossing things off of contracts. And waiving inspection, it can be a dangerous thing. The most important thing is we want to protect your assets. We want to make sure that there's no expensive surprises, that you don't come into a home and you have to change the roof or you have to do all the electrical or there's water in the crawl space. So unless you're a contractor, I always recommend get a home inspection or do a pre-inspection. Now that the market has changed a little bit, we actually have time to do pre-inspection because, before it's like we see a house, they're reviewing offers tomorrow. Are we making an offer or not?
Yeah.
So it's definitely eased up a little bit in that aspect that it's not as risky for the consumer to get into a house and they don't have to risk their inspection. And it's definitely worth the $400 to $500 for that peace of mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And that's why I'm excited about having a little more of a, balanced market. It's a healthy, not quite yet are we there, but maybe heading towards that. So what advice do you have for your frustrated buyers, especially when you're working with a lot of first-time home buyers? There's a lot of frustration and getting bidded out, and you probably have buyers that have actually just given up on the process altogether. So what is your advice to them?
My advice would be don't give up.
Yes.
Keep going. It's always a work in progress. Don't give up the motivation. Be sure to have an agent that is equally as motivated as you.
Good point.
And is equally as, focused on, I'm going to get in my house, and it's temporary. You're not going to be searching for a home forever. But once we find the home and we get you under contract, you're going to forget that you were even dealing with the frustrations of bidding wars.
Yeah.
Vanessa, what are some of the benefits? I know one of the approaches could be going after a house that's been sitting on the market for a while. When it comes to negotiating, what are some of the benefits of taking that approach?
I always like to have my buyers consider houses that have been on the market for a little bit longer. When a house has been on the market longer, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong with the home. Mm-hmm. It could be, that it's might be a little bit overpriced. Maybe the sellers are not as motivated, and the price usually goes with the motivation of the seller. So I always tell my buyers, just because it's been on the market, don't disregard that house. If it fits your criteria, let's go take a look at it. Maybe we can offer a little bit lower, ask for a closing cost. There's more room for negotiation.
Yeah. And I think that's such great advice to really go after what nobody else is going after.
Exactly.
And if it doesn't make sense, you'll know you're doing the the inspection and you're going through all of the processes. And so great advice. So what about choosing a real estate agent, Vanessa? How would you advise the best way to do that? And also working with a big brokerage like Windermere, John L. Scott, or with your company, Century21?
I feel that it's more based on the relationship you have with this person. You're going to be spending a lot of time with them, so it needs to be somebody that you trust, somebody that is not going to push you and that is willing to walk away from a deal if it's not in your best interest. The NRA, the National Association of Realtors, did a study and they asked what's the most important thing that people look for when choosing a real estate agent, and it was trust. Yeah. So we didn't sign up with WP and Associates until 6-7 months ago. Before that, I never had somebody that said I didn't want to work with you because I don't know who WP is.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
What advice do you have for people that are still a couple years out, but homeownership is in the back of their mind?
I think that the moment you start thinking about buying a home is the time that you should start getting ready. Whether it is, the first step is going to be speak to a lender, figure out where you're at right now.
Amen.
And you'd be surprised. Sometimes they're actually ready to go and they thought their credit score was too low. Yeah. There's a lot of things that hold people back. Like, I don't have enough down payment, but there's programs for everything.
Tons of them.
But you don't know where to go if you don't know where you're starting. So meet with your lender, meet with Keelan and Tina, and we can set up a roadmap for you and get you in the home. And the most important thing for me is the education portion of it, is teaching them how credit works, telling them, okay, you're 7 months out, don't increase your debt, lower your debt, do this, and that, so we can set up a game plan so that you are ready, in 6, 7 months, 2 years, whatever it may be that you need to do.
Yeah, and you nailed it, Vanessa, because in, the thousands of clients that we've met with, there's so many times that people think, wow, I'm really not in a position to do it, but my agent told me the first thing I need to do is talk with you for lending. And they're pleasantly surprised that, wow, I can. Or the example you gave in they try doing things thinking it's the right thing, and it's, well, in that situation, it was advised by their lender. But, really putting together that plan again, great advice. So outside of not preparing up front and really making sure they're going through those steps to find out where they're at, what would you say would be the next biggest mistake that you would see, especially first-time homebuyers making?
The biggest mistake, I would say, not being realistic with what they're looking for.
Yeah.
I always tell my buyers, we're not trying to find your dream home, or you shouldn't really be trying to find your dream home when it's your first home.
Yeah.
It's your starter home. You're not going to be in that house for the rest of your life. You're going to outgrow it. You're going to start a family. So looking at something that is going to be comfortable for you, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be a slave to your mortgage either.
Yes.
You don't want to lose quality of life. So I would say keeping it real and just making sure that your needs are met and differentiating your needs versus your wants.
Yeah.
And having a good real estate agent, they'll help you, show you the way and say, your mortgage is going to be $1,000 over what you want because you need the 5-piece master bathroom. But if you go without it with this house, your mortgage is going to be in the area that you want it to be.
And that's a good way to explain it. Really, it's boils down to what that payment's going to be, how much it's going to cost them. And if you go, well, this is an extra $1,000, is it really worth that in the things that you're going to need to give up? And if it is, that's great. But if not, they've got that information.
Yes.
Yeah.
Vanessa, what about a first-time buyer that thinks they can't afford a house in Seattle? What would you tell them?
The things they cannot afford a house in Seattle. Well, the houses in Seattle, they're a little pricey. I would say open up your search.
Yeah.
Go a little bit north, go a little bit south. We're seeing a lot of activity in like Renton, Kent, Maple Valley, and then in the north end, like Everett, places like Silver Lake, Mill Creek. Those are really good areas for you to find your starter home.
Yeah. And, thank you so much for all of the commitment. I know you work with a lot of buyers, investment buyers and, move up buyers, but I know that you have a passion with first time home buyers. And I, thank you for putting some focus on that market, because a lot of real estate experts don't. It's more work. And so thank you. And thanks for coming in and visiting us in studio. We're excited to have you come back.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
And coming up next on the Money Hour, we have Vincent Humphrey, attorney at law at Humphrey & Associates, divorcing. Hot questions regarding real estate when it comes to divorce. Right here at 11:50 a.m. KKNW after this short break.